And the oh no, the jump in. It's a man grab. Big damage. Into a setup. Oh, flip.
Oh, wow. Catches him.
Come on, grab. Oh, flick him.
Oh, wow.
Is this it? Boom, boom. And with a perfect.
Wow.
Cool Kid takes Red Bull Proving Grounds #2 for fall season.
Hey guys, Philosopher here, and I'm back with another episode of FGC Philosophy. And today, I have a person that I've wanted to have on the show for a while. I first saw this person, I think, back in 2015, Combo Breaker, I want to say, perhaps. He's a local to Chicago. He actually just won Red Bull Proving Grounds, which I didn't know until after we had his schedule, which is kind of a cool thing. And then also, he's very well known for having a very supportive, I want to say, is it fiance or wife?
Wife
Cool.
now.
Congratulations. But yeah, this is Cool Kid93. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
So, I mean, I guess the first thing is we'll hit up Red Bull Proving Grounds real quick. You know, how did that win feel for you?
Oh, it always feel good. It don't matter how many times I win, it always feel good because, like, from let me see, last season, I was in like this ridiculous slump. Even though I ended up winning the last one before to qualify, I was in like a real big slump. So now I done got my confidence back. My wife didn't let me get discouraged for too long, and then, you know, kind of enjoying the game for what it is, and then finding another character that I like. It just all came full circle, basically.
A couple of points I want to hit there. I'll circle back to the characters in just a second, but I wanted to ask about your wife. I know you talked about it a little bit with Mike Martin and having a supportive wife, but how helpful has that been for you with having someone who's been so supportive of your goals?
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world. I thank God that I got, you know, someone like that. Because when I remember when I first showed her, you know, because I'm like, ain't no girl finna want to see no tournament. I end up showing a clip, and I went all the way to the end just to show her I won. And then she ended up watching, rewinding and watching some of the match, and I was just like, that was the first time right there, and that actually was when we was best friends. And I was just like, oh my goodness, she actually watching this. And then to actually, you know, see her there supporting me, you know, doing something that I love doing is like, it's hard to describe. It's like the best feeling in the world, though.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of gratitude there.
When it first happened, when I first heard her doing all that yelling and stuff, it threw me off because I ain't expect it.
For those who haven't been to a tournament with Cool Kid93, he's not a super loud person. I've never really seen you get loud, but like your wife is awesome. Like we went with a whole bunch of people, and like we just saw this girl like just going in, like yelling like crazy. And like me and my friend and my friend's girlfriend, like, man, like we're like, we need to have our girlfriends like that. Like, what's going on? We need to have them hyping us up. Like, I mean, I'm very reserved as well, so I don't like, you know, I'm shy. I don't need that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it is very cool to see like that level of support. That's really cool, and I think, you know, people have become accustomed to it. I know during Red Bull Proving Grounds, they even made a joke about that, which was really cool. That it was you versus Rob TV. And Mrs. Cool Kid versus, I can't remember the guy's name, but like it was a shouting match or something like that. Yeah, Aquadog. Yeah. So it's a spectacle all of its own. It's definitely hype, and it's really cool to see that. So I had to at least bring that up because it is really cool. And I know alone just the goals that we have within the FGC, within, you know, esports, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people don't understand it, and a lot of people definitely don't respect it. So it's, you know, when you see that, that's really awesome, and it's great that you have that. I don't want to say opportunity, but you have that relationship with someone who does support it. I think that's super awesome.
Oh yeah, and I don't, you know, like you said, I don't do all that yelling and none of that. I just play and talk maybe a little bit, but I don't do none of that popping off. So I leave all that for her.
Yeah, so that's something I noticed about you. I've seen you play like in person and also online. I've seen you play grand finals now, and something I've noticed about you is that you're always really like reserved. You're really calm, like not just quiet, but just calm. You know, if you lose, you're still calm. If you win, you're still calm. You know, I guess how does that serve you?
I think that's more so just how I am as a person. I remember years ago, me and my brother, we had he was driving, got in an accident. It wasn't like a major one, but it was just like a small one. And I don't know if it's just because I ain't really been in those kind of situations. And when it happened, I was looking like how I look at tournaments. Like I ain't panic or nothing like that. I don't know what that is about me, but I just don't, like, of course I can be scared about something, but I just have the same face. But when it comes to tournaments, it's actually a good thing that, I just so happen to be, doing that, because I learned a long time ago, people, some people kind of feed off how others are looking. If they looking frustrated, then, they play style would adjust to, the person being irritated if they mad about something, So me just having, just a plain face, can't tell whether I just got irritated about something or not.
Yeah, you got a strong poker face game, which is good. I think a lot of people don't really consider that the emotional, mental aspect of it outside of the game is that's a huge part of fighting games or competitive games in general, is being able to read your opponent. And so that's kind of good that you have that. I want to know what's usually going on in your mind when you're playing these tournaments, like when you're at grand finals, at finals, stuff like that. What are you usually thinking about?
Well, before I play, all the time before I play at these tournaments, I always pray. So, I just pray that I, do my best. God let me win, and after I pray, I always feel much better because I know that once I play, I'm going to do my absolute best in it. And I feel like if I lose, then obviously it wasn't my time to win. Of course, I'm still be salty on the inside that I lost or something, but in the end, I know like it ain't, it wasn't my time. Just like when I lost at Evo, I was so hurt when I lost because I trained like crazy to go to Evo, and then I end up, I think, losing on day 2. Got put out early, but I did at least make it out of pools, but still got put out early, and I was so hurt. My wife had to encourage me about it, and then I started getting, feeling better about it. And then after that, I won these last 2 Red Bull events. So sometimes it just makes me come back stronger and practice even harder.
Since Evo, what's been like, walk us through your training regimen. What do you do like specifically to improve in your game?
I just practice online, and then sometimes I just kind of reflect on what happened, because I do know one of the things that I got a problem with is when I lose, I'm pretty sure you see it a lot. Everybody just go back in, thumbs up, and I don't take a second to like think about what happened. I just want to hurry up and go back in just off adrenaline, things of that nature. So I feel like in that particular situation with Evo, it was, not disregarding the person that beat me because he did good, but it's more so, for me not, kind of stepping back for a second, I immediately went right back in.
So you've won 2 tournaments since Evo now. What did you do different? I mean, I know Evo is a huge event, so I'm not expecting the same level of competition, but what do you think you did different that worked for you in the last 2 tournaments that you've won?
Well, for one, I got, Abigail now. He my new ace in the hole. And, just playing more and just starting to get more comfortable and just better, preparing my mindset and I'm still now trying to figure out ways to like calm myself. Like, even if I were to win, a game, just to calm myself and think it over. Because even though I had said I'm gonna like do a quick meditation or just calm myself if I lose, I went into the tournament this past week and still did, and I still gave the thumbs up right away. So I gotta, train myself to do that, as a norm.
Yeah, definitely. Just like with actually playing games in Street Fighter, you know, there's a lot of bad habits that we develop, and you have to practice to break those bad habits. The same exact thing. You know, I'm not the best player when it comes. You know, I'm not the best when it comes to playing Street Fighter, but like developing habits is something that I've studied for a long time, and it's very much the same thing. You have to create that new practice. So I think that's something that's completely doable, and it sounds like it'll benefit you because you're already kind of a calm person. So if you use that to your benefit, then take that break and to really analyze the situation, reflect, or even just, you know, take some deep breaths, because breathing is actually proven to be able to, breathing and water are going to help you be able to focus a little bit better. So if you take those two things into account, you know, when you do feel adrenaline pumping, or, you know, you feel a little bit of anxiety or nervousness, that's, you know, physically and mentally, those are two things that are going to start to help you. I know you said before that your girlfriend kind of keeps you hydrated, or your wife keeps you hydrated. So that's a good factor.
One tournament she had me, I was juiced up. I had like a 5-hour energy drink, I think like 2 Powerades, a Red Bull, a water. Like, it wasn't nothing that was gonna make me tired that day.
She needs to start a catering service, jeez.
Yeah, it definitely comes in handy.
I was going to ask about Abigail, but before I do that, you mentioned a little bit about getting yourself in the right mindset. Can you tell me a little bit more about the mindset that you get in?
Well, the mindset that I get in is that, you know, it goes back to my first tournament, which was many years ago. It was UFGT, which is known now, you know, Combo Breaker. But it was Ultimate Fighting Game Tournament, I think 8. I believe, and it was for cross Tekken. And, you know, going in there, it was just like, you know, all these big names in here and all that. And, you know, I went in there with that mindset, like, you know, not that I'm better than anybody or like being arrogant or anything, but I know that, you know, I'm good and I trained a lot to get to this point, you know. And I thought about it like, if I play somebody, you know, I'm the underdog, so they gonna expect me to lose. So I ain't got nothing to, you know, be scared about. And, you know, now fast forward, and, you know, probably not seen as the underdog no more, probably just a name or close to it. I still had that mindset, like, you know, just go in here and do my best. I done did a lot to get to this point, so that's how I train my mind, you know, not to be arrogant or, you know, saying I'm the best or anything. I literally just go in there and do my best. Works out pretty well all the time too.
I mean, if you look at a lot of the athletes, the top level athletes in, you know, all over the place. I mean, Floyd Mayweather is a great example of this, maybe an extreme example, but a lot of the things that they have in common and is in their own way, they find some way to build themselves up, to build their confidence. Some people do it the Floyd, you know, Mayweather way, or maybe the Punk, you know, way. You can kind of compare those two. Some people are a little bit more reserved. Like, I mean, I hate to use this person, but I guess Conor McGregor. I mean, he's very vocal too, but he's always going a different route about it. I don't know if you follow him too much, but he always talked about personal development, the law of attraction, and stuff like that. And so a lot of these athletes and other successful people, entrepreneurs, they all have this. They force their mindset, like they purposely, you know, brainwash themselves to believe in their own abilities. And I think that, you know, me personally, I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of players tend to have, is that their mindset is really what's kind of holding them back. I guess in your experience, have you ever noticed that with any of the players that you know or have experienced in the past?
Yeah, I noticed some things, like even when they might get hit by something. Or good example, the Red Bull finals, my teammates, Eric and Brian F. Eric was doing real good. He was going up against Commander Jesse. We was going up against Team LA, and he was about to win. And Dawson's fireball hit him before he finished his combo, and Commander Jesse ended up making a comeback. And I knew that, even though, you know, of course I ain't gonna say it, you know, because we the team, I ain't gonna sit there and discourage our own teammates, but in my head I'm like, he might have done lost mentally already, because, you know, a lot of people, they get that in their head that they almost won, and then somebody just made a comeback. So now they trying to hurry up and rush in, get it over with, and now they just falling apart. So yeah, I have seen that before, where, you know, people kind of self-destruct, They get hit by things. They feel like it's stupid that they got hit by, so now they irritated. Yeah, I done seen it before.
Yeah, I talked about this in a previous episode. I'll just briefly go over it, but I think that's definitely what happened with Punk and Taquito at Grand Finals at Evo. You could see it, and kind of put a pin in this. Like I talked about it before, but you see Taquito before his fight, pumping his body up, filling himself up, getting his blood rushing, getting the oxygen through his body, because again, like I said before, that helps you think. And so this guy came in knowing that mindset is vital to winning this match. He has, Taquito's found his own way of kind of hyping himself up or getting himself in the right mindset. What kind of advice would you give to someone who struggles? They're a good player. It's just they tilt, or they get upset and they lose mentally. Like, what kind of advice would you say, or some sort of practice that they could do?
I know it's not something, you can learn overnight. I never say it like that, but it's something that you gotta, really practice. And then, just to look at it, kind of, look at how you used to be when you was just complaining about stuff, and then look at now when you just play it for what it is, just like, I stayed complaining about Street Fighter 5 on my Twitter, whether it was online, Laura, Nakali, like I was complaining hard. Once in a while I might drop a complaint, tweet, but it's not healthy. It's actually like pretty toxic, and I didn't think it was until like start playing this game and you see it for yourself. And then when I actually just start playing it for what it is, if I get mixed up to death by Laura and she got one hit left, it's the game we play. So, I say it's something that you can't learn overnight, but it's definitely a process. You just gotta train your mind to believe that, because if you just say it but your mind don't believe that, or your actions don't show, then it won't mean nothing.
That's a really, really good point. And like with complaining too, right? To kind of take it out of the Street Fighter world, because it's really hard to, when you're actually in it, to understand the detriment of it. But I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses and stuff like that, and with the owners of the company, and in the environment that you're in, a lot of the employees that sit there and complain but don't do anything, they complain about their circumstances. They're it's basically a very toxic environment. And the people who actually have a situation that they don't like, but either find a way to fix it or work around it, because sometimes you can't fix a situation, like you can't do anything about it, but you can change your mindset about how you approach it, because it's always going to be there. You can find a way to get around it or overcome that challenge. Like, for example, with different characters, there's some, maybe potentially perceived to be broken characters, but if somebody else can beat them, and especially with your own character, then maybe before complaining, find a way to figure out what other people are doing, learn what you can, because complaining kind of closes off that mindset to like, maybe there's something I can do about this. But rather than doing that, you're saying there's nothing I can do about this and I'm just going to complain. So it's, I understand it. It's frustrating, and it's really easy to do, especially when you have the internet at your fingertips to kind of express yourself. But when it becomes a habit, it can definitely get unhealthy, like you said.
Another thing too, sorry, I forgot to say, is you got to separate yourself from people that also, well, not even separate yourself, but like if you just got a circle of people, all y'all just complain constantly, you definitely ain't gonna get out that mindset if you got those circle of people. If they your close friends, then you might have to just try to help them out too, and don't just cut them off completely. But you gotta definitely have a better surrounding of people. Like I started muting people like crazy. It was getting ridiculous when, that everybody was talking about Marvel and, DBZ. Like I love me some DBZ, but it was just like, I don't like when people just, complaining just to complain. I know you see how, people was talking about Marvel when DBZ first got announced, everybody was just bashing the game. Like I don't really care about Marvel. I ain't finna sit there and say, hope the game died. People like that, that's what I mean toxic. Like toxic comments like that compared to like just criticism. It's not like saying I hate a character, it's stupid, it's broken. You can say, like I still say I kind of hate some characters, but I still try to learn how to fight them still.
Definitely.
rather than just, ignore it and just be like, I hate the character. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you said all of that. I 100% agree with all of that. I mean, there's a saying with a lot of like entrepreneurs and person development. It's almost like a meme now, but you're the average of your 5 closest friends. It was originally meant for like a financial thing. Like if you take your 5 closest friends and average out how much they make, then you probably make around the average of what they're making. But you can also compare that to the mindset of your 5 closest friends. Are a lot of them complaining? How much are, like, even if you're not complaining as much as them, if you're around people who are like, hey, I'm having this challenge, how can I fix it? Hey, I learned this new tech, let me share it with you. Hey, yeah, I'm frustrated with this, but help me find a way to get around it, rather than this sucks, and that sucks. Like, look at who you're around, and I don't want to say to cut off ties with your friends, but I mean, sometimes you have to help them come around, or for your own sake, for your own sanity, you have to kind of distance yourself a little bit, because that's your life. You want to have some loyalty. I'm sure I understand that, but do you want to improve, and how much you want to improve? Do you want to stay negative? Like, so you kind of have to think about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I did with everybody know me for using Alex, but got to a point while I do love using Alex, it got to a point where I was just complaining like crazy about him. Compared to comparing him to other characters, and I wish they buff him, do this and do that. Like, I was complaining hard about him too. And once Abigail came, I'm like, well, this is everything I wanted Alex to do. So now I kind of done slowed down on using Alex. Like I say, I barely complain as much now. I feel like I got 2 pretty good characters, kind of fight off everybody. But it's even just kind of distancing myself from using Alex stopped me from complaining as much too. Yeah, because it was always that crutch, like I say, I love using them, but it was always that crutch, if I lost with him, it's just like, man, why don't he have this? Why don't he have that? Why do this character have this? It's like, I'm the one that picked him. Hopefully season 3 he get a little better or something, but it's like, now it's just like, I'm kind of level with my characters, and it just kind of helped me with not complaining as much too.
Yeah. So I kind of want to pick your brain about Abigail, because something I found, they talked about it during the commentary of Red Bull Proving Grounds, but I just wanted to know where your mindset actually was, because you played Rob TV twice. You played him in, I believe, finals, and you played Rashid, and he played Karine. And then in the grand finals, you played Abigail, and you had already beat him, I think, 3-0 or 3-1 with Rashid.
Yeah, it was 3-1 when we played winners finals.
Okay. Where was your mindset when it came to, like, because you picked Abigail right off the bat? What were you thinking with that?
So it kind of go back to when I first started playing the game. My original 2 characters was Alex and not Alex, but Rashid and Zangief. Yeah, it was Rashid and Zangief, and people used to always say, people kind of be prepared for Rashid, and then it's like you just switch up and pick a character that got a complete opposite play style of them, and it's hard for people to adjust. Of course, there are some that can, and then there are those that kind of gotta think on the fly, right on the spot about how to kind of adjust their style. So I knew that he'll be prepared for Rashid again. So I'm like, I will go ahead and pick Abigail, and we play online too, so that's why I was feeling pretty good about using Abigail against him too. It wasn't something that I wasn't familiar with. I kind of learned how to fight Karen with him and Rob with him, and kind of how to approach it. And also, I got 3 matches I can give away possibly, if things go south. But I picked him because I was, confident about using Abigail, and plus he'll have to, on top of trying to change his style from me using Rashid, you also got to try to fight a character that you don't know too well yet.
And on that same note, you talked about this before. You talked about, you don't want to be one-dimensional with your play style, which was kind of why you played Alex and Rashid, and you played a couple of different characters. It's kind of a 2-part question here, but I would like a little bit more of what you mean when you say one-dimensional, and then also in that same scope, all the characters that you've played so far that you know very well. Kareen, you played some Zangief, Rashid, not Kareen, but Rashid, Zangief, Alex, and Abigail. How has playing all these characters helped with your, avoiding to be one-dimensional?
Rashid, especially, his combos and his play style is kind of like you can kind of freestyle with him, kind of change up your style with him, if you want to, different variety of combos, like, and compare it to like maybe what character I could think of that's one dimensional. Dawson. Dawson style, his game plan more or less the same, like every match he in. He got to do his best to keep you away. He got his drills and, the little fire blowing move. I forgot what it's called, but, of course, in the end, it's all preference, what people like. But for me, I like to, I like the stylish combos. And another thing about characters is their personality and how they look. Abigail, he a different one. He's a different one. I don't know what it is about me using slow characters. Rashid is probably the only fast character I ever used. I like characters with, command grabs and things like that. I like, the fear that it put in people, how they play out preserved, or sometimes when they get knocked down, they panic because they just want you off of them. Like, I love that.
How has playing those three characters helped you to prepare for learning Abigail?
So, like Zangief, for example, as I'm learning him, I'm also learning every other character in the game because, the game launched. I got it on day one. Him and Rashid was my first two. And, still learning a little bit. I end up dropping him because I was like, once Alex came, I'm like, this man way better than Zangief, and he much cooler, and he got a power bomb, and then what happened to Alex, season 2, it kind of, he kind of took a big tumble down. They tried to fix him up a little bit, but it wasn't really the same no more, and I felt like it was just a unnecessary struggle that I was doing. I know people love my Alex. I love using them too, but it was just like I told you earlier, I was just complaining, getting irritated using them, like not towards him, but just like how he stacked up with other characters, and it just wasn't really working out. So once Abigail came out, my game plan, my general game plan, like as a grappler, it kind of transitioned over well to him. Plus, at this point, I know how to fight all the characters, what to look for, what they like to do, mainly with all those characters. So it kind of worked itself out. The stars lined up pretty well.
That's good. Something that I've been trying to I understand the concept of it, but I have been trying to really embody it and also trying to help other people understand its ideas. I play mainly one character, but I've been trying to learn how all the other characters play, like learning how their combos work, being able to execute them, knowing their setups and stuff like that. Actually, me being able to do it. Do you think you would have been as prepared to play Abigail if you hadn't played those series of characters, or if you played just one of those characters?
I don't know. It's actually a good question. I think that I still would have been, pretty good with Abigail because when I say his character design, I instantly got hooked on it. Just a big, slow character, and then his animations, the animation on his moves and things like that, I was just like, I have to play with him. Mm-hmm. When they was releasing all the characters, people on Twitter know when I was, when Akuma was coming out, I said, I'm using him. This is my character right here. He came out, I played with him a couple of days, dropped him. Same goes with Ed, Colin, Ibuki, Urian. Like, I think I was just like forcing myself to try to play them. But then when I seen this character, and they kept showing the, the little silhouette, I'm like, please let this be just like a big, slow grappler, and I will play him. And he ended up being just that, the biggest character in the game, too. I'm like, I have to play with him. Dude, I think I just, when I say it's just the style of the character, maybe that kind of worked well with me. Because when I was learning, or trying to learn all those other characters, it kind of was like forced, like it wasn't really working out for me. But Abigail, I was, confident in using him at the other Red Bull, not this past one, but the other one, and he came out about 2 weeks before then, and I already was feeling comfortable with using him. So I think just his style and then just actually really, really liking the character and not forcing myself to like him, like turned out pretty good.
So I wanna go back in time a little bit. You kind of became well known for playing Street Fighter Cross Tekken. You played Cody Bob, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is actually a question that someone suggested to me, and I was kind of curious, and so I added on to it. But I guess the main question is, do you miss Street Fighter Cross Tekken?
Man, I miss me some Cross Tekken. That's still to this day my favorite fighting game, man. And the reason why I like Cross Tekken the most is because it gives you that freedom. If you want to play one dimensional, with a Dawson or something like that, you can. But the game had combos that allowed you to kind of like, do what you want to do. And you had that option of a second character, kind of like make it a bit more interesting, and the game wasn't as, easy. I ain't gonna say this game is super easy, but it's not as easy as, what we have now. You actually really, really, really needed to, practice and put time into it, and you got rewarded for that. So that's why I miss Cross Tech. And the characters that I played was Cody was my main character from Street Fighter 4. So once he came in Cross Tech, and that was just like an instant he got to get used. And then Bob, at the time I didn't know nothing about Tekken, but it was just some big character, that looked it cool and laid back. I had to use him.
It was a really interesting game. I never got a chance to get into that game, but it just seemed like such a cool game. It seemed like for so many different reasons, it was so cool though. Because you had this crossover game. Tekken's well known, but it also has like this. I guess a Tekken tag element to it. I think of like DOA or Marvel because you can tag in characters. I never really played a lot of Tekken, but yeah, that game seemed really, really interesting. And I watched some of your gameplay. I had to go back and I'd like to do a little bit of homework. And it's a very, very creative game.
Because there were people that made the game legit boring and hard to watch. But when you actually watch people that, like I say, really, really, really play it, and explore the game and the combos beyond a little launch system, it's a treat to watch.
So I got a couple more questions, and I'm going to let you go. I know we probably already gone over time here, but it's been a fun conversation for me. But so long-term wise, for you, what would you say your long-term goals are with either Street Fighter or just in general?
Well, yeah, I remember a guy had asked me that before, like, what do I want to do? Like, even after this over, I actually want to start, saving. I hate the feeling, when you get the tournament money, you spend it, that's it. I want to start, actually saving money, start planning for the future, me and my wife. And, it'd be cool if I can be, old and still not like old, like gray hair and I can't move, but just old, like I can still play these games and keep up with people. But that's the plan so far.
So you want to continue to be like at least a playing member, but a part of the FGC lifelong?
Yeah, and make sure to, start saving when I win these events.
That's a smart goal, it sounds like to me. I see a lot of, understandably, I see a lot of people like, buying cars and stuff like that, expensive cars, not just any car.
Oh, yeah.
But no, that's a good goal. You've been having a lot of success. I know you still have a long way to go. A lot of people do. I want to ask, just from where you are right now, if someone walked up to you and said, how how do I get as good as you are? You know, how do I get past all this stuff that I'm going through? You know, if someone was asking at a tournament and like was spilling their heart to you, what would you tell them to help them get to where they wanted to be?
I say don't get discouraged because, you know, when I first started, I started in Street Fighter 4. It's the video still on YouTube. I was under a different name then, and it was my very first match. And it's so funny that I look back on it sometimes just to see how far I came, you know, just mashing buttons, doing Wake Up Super with Ken, you know. And, you know, of course, like I always say these things, like, it's not easy, but you gotta, it's all going back around to your mindset. You can't get discouraged, and you can't feel like you should be beating a pro, you know, or, you know, a top player in like one day. If you lose, you just use that as a learning lesson. You see what you did better, and I always ask questions. That was one thing I used to do. I used to, still do kind of to this day, like ask questions about what I could have done better, you know, and just online was my main source for like Street Fighter 4 all the way to now, just playing online, playing people. So you can't get discouraged, because the moment you start getting discouraged, that start affecting your play. And then that's just going to start just growing inside your mind. Then eventually you just gonna quit, go on to another game, say it's stupid. You know, it's a lasting effect on you.
The cycle, a negative feedback loop. It sounds like what you're talking about right there. And I think that's a great point. I definitely think that applies not just to fighting games, but anything in life. Some people love fighting games, but they want to do something, whether it's in the FGC or outside of it. They come at it with that kind of mindset, making excuses, blaming things, and complaining all the time. And I definitely think that what you said really applies to pretty much anything in life that you want to work towards. I appreciate the input. I hope the listeners have valued what you talked about, because I definitely enjoyed the conversation. The last thing is just, you know, where can they find, you know, if they want to reach out to you or watch some of your content, like what do you have out there right now? What are you doing? And where can they find you?
Well, I got a YouTube channel. You could just type in my name and my channel will pop up right then and there. And I got a Twitter. It's at Redmond, REDMOND 2393. That's my Twitter. And then my Facebook is my name, Marcus Redmond. And PlayStation, of course, you know. So it's the Cool Kid93, all caps, each underscore. Kid93 is together. So that's why I be at mainly.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining the show again. Also, congratulations on your win at Red Bull Proving Grounds, and also congratulations to your marriage. I mean, a lot of great things happening for you right now. So, yeah, congratulations, and thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me.